Well, as talks between the US and Iran resume in Switzerland in a last-ditch bid to avert war, the American military buildup in the Middle East continues. Earlier this morning, the biggest and most advanced ship in the US fleet, the aircraft carrier Gerald R. Ford, left port in Crete, headed to the eastern Mediterranean. The world's largest aircraft carrier at 340 metres long, the Gerald R. Ford carries around 70 aircraft. Its departure comes as a new round of indirect talks between the United States and Iran, mediated by Oman's foreign minister, opened in Geneva. Well, let's stay with Iran. There's hope war might be avoided as the third round of discussions between the US and Iran take place in Geneva, with Iran claiming it won't pursue a nuclear weapon. US President Donald Trump has threatened military force against Iran unless a deal is struck, with the largest build-up of American warships since 2003 gathering off the coast of Iran as we speak. Well, Otago University geopolitical analyst Geoffrey Miller is with us now. Thanks so much for being here, Geoffrey. So just first of all, how serious do you view this current predicament right now?
Look, it's very serious, Michael. It is, as you say, the biggest US military build-up since 2003. The US has quite literally hundreds of aircraft, fighter aircraft, supply aircraft, all stationed around now the Middle East, stationed in bases across the Middle East on those two big aircraft carriers, the Gerald R. Ford, also the Abraham Lincoln, which is even closer to Iran than the Gerald R. Ford that you've shown pictures of is. And so we do seem to be going down the path of a potential conflict. That said, this is the last chance for diplomacy today, and there are some positive signs. The Omani foreign minister has characterized the proposals that are being presented in Geneva as we speak as creative and serious, or creative and positive. The Iranian side has described the talks as intense and serious. The fact that the talks have gone into a second session in the evening in Geneva is a positive sign, but you can never read too much into these things. There have been some more downbeat signals of the US position, and the two sides are quite far apart in their negotiating positions, and it's hard in many ways to see a meeting of minds somewhere in the middle, but you live in hope. And I don't think either side is particularly keen on an all-out conflict, when that might be the trump card here.
Yeah, that's true. It is hard to know. The quite creative and positive talks. That could in fact be PR. We don't really know. What we do know is that Iran has said that it won't build a nuclear weapon, while at the same time saying it has no intention of giving up its nuclear program. So is that going to be enough to appease Trump?
Well, Donald Trump's problem is that he tore up the original Iranian nuclear deal back in 2018, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, as it was known, or the JCPOA. So any deal that Donald Trump comes back with has to be better for him domestically. He's got to sell a deal that is better, otherwise he will look like a chump, and he just won't be able to get away with that with his base or with American voters if he comes back with a worse deal than the one he tore up, 8 years ago. So he's got to come up with a better deal, and Iran has got to then supply him with a deal that is better. There's been various proposals that have been floating around as how to achieve this. One is that you would have a permanent arrangement. The JCPOA was full of sunset clauses of around 8 to 15 years. But the JCPOA, that original Iranian nuclear deal, had Iran reduce its enrichment below 4%. Now, since that deal fell apart, Iran has put its enrichment back up to 60% levels, which is much closer to development of a nuclear weapon. It would be, I think, quite a concession by Iran to reduce its enrichment that far down again. The US is also asking in its demands for Iran to transfer all of its enriched uranium to the United States. Some of these things are non-starters. And then you have the fact that the US also is keen to talk about Iran's ballistic missile stockpile, its support for proxy groups around the region, such as Hezbollah. Many of these topics are very, very unpalatable in Iran, but yet they do face this veritable US military armada off its coasts in the Arabian Sea and the Gulf of Oman. So Who knows what will happen? But as I said, perhaps the most positive sign is that these talks are ongoing. They've gone into overtime effectively, a second session in the evening in Geneva. We can only just wait and see what the outcome will be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there does not appear to be any appetite from the American public for US forces to start blowing up Iran. So where do you think Trump's mind is on that point? Or is part of the problem here that he's just so unpredictable, we don't know?
Indeed, look, US public support for a war is minimal. 27% was the figure I've seen in one poll in favor of striking Iran. Yet more than half are sort of resigned to the fact that it might be inevitable. But trying to read Donald Trump's mind on this is, of course, the impossible task. He talks on one hand about peace, but also then on the other hand talks about strength and the need to really teach Iran a lesson here. So who knows at this point? Who knows? I mean, Donald Trump is just impossible to read. We've seen just in the last couple of months, Donald Trump bombing Nigeria on Christmas Day. We've seen the threats over Greenland. We've seen what happened in Venezuela. Um, Iran sort of falls against that backdrop. And Donald Trump likes to project himself as a man of strength. He's sent in this huge military buildup. If he walks away without using it, does he come across as weak to his base? Will he be goaded into striking Iran by some of the more extremist Republicans, the likes of Lindsey Graham? At this point, everything is on the table. Uh, Donald Trump, he likes the art of the deal. The Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has wrote a book in 2024 called The Power of Negotiation. Perhaps there can be some meeting of minds. You'd have to hope. Look, we do need, the world needs a deal. Diplomacy is going to be far better than a dangerous new war in the Middle East that could really have catastrophic consequences for the region and for the entire world. We're not talking about tiddlywinks here. This could be a major, major conflict. So we need a deal. Whether we're going to get one, the coming hours will probably tell us that.
Yeah, absolutely. We do need a deal. That is pretty critical in all of this. Geoffrey Miller, Otago University geopolitical analyst.